This is WAEC June 2022 General Mathematics Paper 2, and we are answering question number 8A and 8B, and the question reads, the table shows the monthly expenditure in percentage of Mr. Okapo's salary. So this is the table. Food and drinks, he spent 35% of his salary. Fuel, 7.5% of his salary. Rent, 10% of his salary, and so on. So the two questions asked here, number A says calculate the percentage of Mr. Okapo's salary that was put into savings. This is savings. The percentage on saving is X%, so we have to determine this X. Question number B says illustrate the information on a pie chart. So let's attempt to answer this very questions together. Solution to the problem. So starting with the very first question, that is determine the percentage that he put on savings out of his salary. So it is this X that we have to find. But remember, all these figures are in percentage. So 35%, 7.5%, 10%, up to this X%. These are the only items that he spent his salary on. So which means if we add all those figures, including this X, it will give us 100%. So let's do that. So 35% plus 7.5% plus 10 plus 15 plus 17.5 plus the X% on saving. This will give us 100%. So collecting like terms here by the left hand side, adding all those numbers to give answer 85, then plus X equals to 100%. Taking 85 to the right hand side becomes minus, so you are going to have X as 15%. That is 100 minus 85. So the amount is put on saving is now 15%. This is the value of this very X. So we move to question number B. Question number B asked to show this or to represent this on a pie chart. Remember, to draw pie chart, you have to calculate the angle for each sector that is representing each item. So let's start with the angles. So starting with the very first item, that is food and drinks. So I'll now take this 35 divided by the total 100 multiplied by 360 degrees. This is what I'm going to do to get the angle for food and drinks. The percentage for food and drinks, which is 35%, divided by 100, that is the total percent, multiplied by 360, total angle in a cycle. This will give us 126 degrees. So move out, take the next item, fuel. I will now find its angle. So I'll have 7.5 divided by 100 multiplied by 360. If you do this multiplication and division correctly, you now have 27 degrees. This will now be the angle for fuel. So I did this the same for the other items. So rent will now have 36 degrees, building 54 degrees, education 63 degrees, and 7 using this 15 as the percentage to give answer this 54 degrees. So I have all the angles for each and every item. So what remains is to just move and draw the pie chart. The pie chart is always a perfect cycle, so you have a small dot somewhere that you put the needle of your compass there, like this very place. So you now operate so that you have a very large cycle, a very perfect cycle. So if the needle is now placed at this dot, the essence of the dot, so that the middle of that cycle will not disappear. So you put the needle there and draw a very large cycle like this very one. And next you now take your ruler and draw a straight line from this very center of the cycle to any part of the circumference. Let me just draw it like this using my ruler. So when you have this very line, the very first one, then you now take your protractor and measure all those angles. So starting with the angle 126 for this food and drink, I'll now align my protractor here so that the middle of the protractor is at this very point. And one of the zero line is now coincide or is on top of this very line, just like this. Then I'll now measure angle 126. Always use the scale that started with 0. So here I'm using the inner scale. So 126 is somewhere in between 120 and 130. So this is the point. So you make a small dot there and you remove the protractor and use your ruler from the center to join it to that very point. This will now be the sector for food and drinks. You can now mark the angle and also name the sector as well. So next you bring your protractor again. When you now place it, the middle will be here and the zero line or the zero scale will now be on top of this, just like this. You now measure the next angle, which is 27. I'm now attempting to draw a sector for fuel. So this is 27, starting with the zero mark. So 27 is in between 20 and 30. You now count to 7 small division after 20. That will give answer 27. You remove the protractor and draw a line. And you now mark the angle and you now name the sector fuel. So you now move to the next, which is rent 36 degrees. The protractor back again. This is angle 36. Remove it, draw a line, and now name that very sector rent and you mark the angle 36 degrees. Protractor again, you want to measure this angle 54 for building. This is it. So you now have 54 here, you make a small dot there, you remove the protractor, you now mark the angle and you now name the sector building. So next is education angle 63 degrees, put the protractor back again, measure angle 63 degrees. This is the point. Move it, draw a line, and you now mark the angle and you now name that very sector education. So the last sector that remains is for this savings, which is angle 54 degrees. If all your measurements are correct, even if you measure this last angle, it will give you 54 degrees. So you just mark it and you now name it savings. So your pie chart is now complete, and that answered the two questions A and B. So let me just share with you quickly how this very question is now marked during the marking of this very paper. So the very first mark is method 1 mark, and you have this method 1 mark in attempt to find this letter x by adding all those numbers together with x and equate to 100%. It will enable you to get this very first mark, method 1 mark. When you now have that very exactly as 15%, you have this accuracy 1 mark. So question number 8A has 2 good marks. Moving to question number 8B, the very first mark is method 1 mark, and you have this method 1 mark in attempt to calculate the angle. If you now able to write any of those items, it is percentage divided by 100 multiplied by 360. You have this method 1 mark. And when you now calculate all the 6 angles correctly, that is, you have 1, 2, 6, 27, 36, 54, 63, and 54. If all the 6 angles are calculated correctly, you have this accuracy 2 marks. Moving to the pie chart. If all the sectors are measured accurately and they are now named correctly, you have this bonus 2 marks. But any sector that is wrongly measured minus have a mark. So in total, if everything is answered correct in this question A to B, you have 5 good marks.